Alien Queen gasped, "Humans, you can mate year-round." The Starship Horizon's Dawn glided through the glittering void, its sleek hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, the crew moved with the calm precision of humans who had traveled farther than almost any other species. They were explorers, scientists, and diplomats, though their hearts carried curiosity that no protocol could restrain. At the helm, Captain Eli Navarro adjusted the controls, his eyes scanning the readouts for any sign of trouble. Approaching Zyphora orbit, the navigation AI announced in a smooth, neutral voice, "Atmosphere stable. No signs of immediate danger." Eli leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. "Finally," he said, "let's see what this world has to teach us." Zyphora was beautiful even from orbit. Vast forests shimmered in shades the human eye could barely name. Rivers sparkled like liquid silver, winding through mountains that glinted with strange minerals. The planet's cities, unlike any human architecture, were shaped like living organisms, towers spiraling like shells, bridges arching like the wings of birds, all alive with subtle bioluminescent glow. The crew assembled in the observation deck. There was Dr. Mara Lin, the biologist, who scribbled notes furiously, Lieutenant Kieran Shaw, the communications expert, who scanned for signals, and Theo Valen, the engineer, already imagining how to interface with alien technology. "They have life here," Mara said quietly, her voice tinged with awe. "Intelligent life, judging by the city design, and their energy flows are unlike anything we've ever measured." Eli nodded. "Let's keep it slow. First contact is delicate. We need to observe, learn, and respect." The Horizon's Dawn began its descent, gliding through the upper atmosphere like a feather falling through air. Sensors detected a bustling city below, the streets winding organically through hills and rivers. Alien beings moved with grace, their limbs and forms unfamiliar, yet strangely elegant. Each seemed aware of its surroundings, interacting with each other through gestures and subtle, bioluminescent signals. The landing zone was a wide platform near the center of the city. As the ship's ramp extended, a small group of aliens approached. They were taller than humans, with elongated torsos and translucent skin that shimmered in colors Mara could not immediately identify. Their eyes were multifaceted, reflecting the sunlight in rainbow patterns. The tallest among them, adorned with flowing ribbons of glowing material, stepped forward. It was clearly a leader. Captain Eli stepped down the ramp first, smiling, extending a hand in a universal gesture of peace. "I am Captain Eli Navarro of the Starship Horizon's Dawn," he said, his voice calm. "We come in friendship." The alien leader tilted their head, studying him. Then a soft musical sound emerged, some form of speech, though incomprehensible. Kieran's translator devices hummed and began to work. "Greetings, visitors," the translation finally rendered. "I am Queen Telethia of the Telethian Empire. You arrive in a time of peace. Your presence is unusual." Eli bowed slightly. "We mean no harm. We come to learn, to understand your world, and to share knowledge if it pleases you." The Queen's many eyes blinked, a gesture that seemed polite yet curious. "Unusual, yes. Your species behaves unlike any we have observed. You adapt quickly. You do not fear the unknown in the way our kind does. It is," Mara whispered to Eli. "They are already noticing humans' adaptability." "Good," Eli replied. "That is exactly what I want them to notice." The aliens gestured for the humans to follow them. The crew walked along paths that shifted colors beneath their feet, adjusting as if sensing their presence. The air carried a faint, sweet scent, almost musical in tone. Birds, or creatures like them, flew overhead, their wings leaving trails of light. It was a world alive in ways humans had never seen. As they moved deeper into the city, Mara could not stop staring. "Everything is connected," she murmured. "The buildings, the streets, even the air seems to hum with life. It's as if the city itself is a single organism." The Queen led them into a grand hall. The walls pulsed softly with light, responding to the humans' movements. Other Telethians were present, advisors, scientists, and nobles, all observing the humans with fascination. Their gazes were intense, but not hostile. The humans greeted them politely, following the aliens' complex etiquette. Each gesture, each movement seemed to carry meaning. Humans were quick to observe and mimic, smiling when appropriate, bowing slightly, and even laughing gently when an alien attempted humor. The Queen's eyes widened at this. They understand our subtle cues instantly. It is unusual. Theo, ever practical, whispered to Mara. They're impressed. But why? We're just being ourselves. Mara smiled. Exactly. That's the point. They're used to beings who follow strict patterns. Humans, we improvise. We adapt. That's shocking to them. After introductions, the humans were shown some of the city's wonders. Bridges that reshaped themselves, depending on traffic, energy fields that responded to thought, and libraries where knowledge was stored as living, floating entities. Everywhere the humans went, they marveled, touched carefully, and asked questions. Their curiosity was genuine, unguarded, and constant. The Teletheans, in turn, observed every reaction. Every time a human figured out a puzzle or understood a subtle signal, the aliens exchanged looks of amazement. Finally, the Queen took the humans to a balcony overlooking the heart of the city. Below, vast gardens stretched out in geometric perfection, teeming with alien flora. Strange creatures moved among them, some cooperative, others wild, but all balanced in a delicate ecosystem. You see, the Queen said softly, everything here follows rules. Life, growth, behavior. Yet, you walk freely within it, without fear, without hesitation. You disrupt patterns, yet do not destroy them. It is remarkable. Eli looked out over the city, then at the Queen. We humans, we are curious by nature. We do not always understand the consequences of what we do, but we try, we learn, we adapt. That is our strength. The Queen tilted her head again, blinking in a way that seemed almost human. Then, quietly, she murmured to herself, humans, you can mate year-round? The humans froze, unsure if they had heard correctly. Mara's eyes widened. Did she just? Eli smiled slightly, nodding. Apparently, we've already surprised them. Good. The Queen turned back to her court. Let us continue. These humans, they may teach us things we never imagined. Over the next hours, the humans explored further. They walked through marketplaces filled with floating goods, where merchants sold glowing fruits and liquids that shimmered with stored energy. They watched artisans shape living materials into art that moved and danced. Everywhere humans touched, the aliens noticed how humans listened, how they asked questions, how they laughed at things the aliens had never thought funny. Mara spent hours with the local biologists, exchanging samples and observations. She noted the differences in reproductive cycles, hormonal rhythms, and social bonds. Each discovery seemed to astonish the Teletheans even more. Kiran worked tirelessly with the communications team, learning their language, tone patterns, and gestures. Within a few hours, she could respond naturally in ways that made the aliens relax and even smile. Theo, of course, examined every piece of technology he could reach. He found ways to interface human tools with alien systems, improving efficiency without breaking anything. By evening, the humans gathered in a small courtyard, sharing stories about Earth, their journeys, and their curiosity-driven adventures across the stars. The Teletheans listened, enchanted by tales of human ingenuity and courage. The Queen watched quietly from above, her mind turning over every word, every gesture. Her advisors whispered to her, asking what she thought of these strange beings. She simply said, they are unlike anything we know. Perhaps evolution chose differently here. As night fell, the city glowed with bioluminescent lights, and the humans stood quietly, looking at the stars beyond Zyphora's atmosphere. Somewhere in the distance, the first signs of alien music began. A soft, resonant harmony that seemed to echo the rhythm of the planet itself. Eli looked at his crew. They will be fascinated, he said, and we have only just arrived. Mara nodded, smiling at the lights below. It feels alive, and we are alive among it. That's what matters. The Queen from her high balcony whispered again, almost to herself, humans, you can mate year-round. And in that whispered phrase, awe, curiosity, and a hint of envy all mingled. Humanity had made its mark, not with weapons or conquest, but with adaptability, empathy, and the freedom to live fully, without constraint. The humans had arrived, and already the universe had begun to notice them. The morning sun rose over Zyphora like a jewel spilling light across the forested cities. The air vibrated with the hum of life, bioluminescent plants opening to the sun, streams reflecting the city's glow, and creatures moving with the grace that made even the humans pause in awe. Captain Eli Navarro and his crew prepared for their next audience with Queen Telethia. Today, the humans were to participate in a formal cultural exchange, a rare privilege for any outsider. The Queen had chosen them specifically. Eli felt both pride and a familiar thrill. Humanity was stepping further into alien society, leaving marks no one had expected. Remember, Eli said to his team as they walked through the streets, observe, learn, show respect, and, when possible, show humanity at its best. Marilyn smiled, adjusting the notes on her holo tablet. We already fascinated them yesterday. Let's see what else we can do. Kiran Shaw adjusted the translation earpiece, ready to interpret subtle tonal cues, while Theo Valen carried small devices intended to interface with alien tech. Every step they took, the locals paused, watching them move freely in ways Telethians could not. The humans arrived at the palace, an enormous structure shaped like an unfolding flower, petals rising from the ground in layers of iridescent metal and living crystal. Guards, more observers than protectors, bowed in greeting. The Queen awaited them in the central chamber, flanked by her council. Welcome, humans, she said, her voice resonant and musical. Today, you will witness our customs. You will share yours. And perhaps we will all learn something. Eli bowed. It is our honor, Your Majesty. The first demonstration was a ceremony of the seasons, where Telethians marked the transition between growth and rest periods. It was a sacred event, filled with gestures, musical tones, and bioluminescent displays. Telethians moved in synchronized patterns, each gesture having precise meaning. At first, the humans hesitated, unsure how to participate. Then Eli smiled, lifted his arms carefully, and mirrored the movements as best he could. Mara, following his lead, added a subtle variation, improvising gently while respecting the original rhythm. Kiran laughed softly when a misstep caused a minor ripple in the light patterns, but the Telethians did not scold. Instead, they observed in fascination. Look at them, whispered an advisor to the Queen. They changed the pattern, yet they do not break it. It is astonishing. The Queen nodded. Humans. They adapt naturally. They follow rules, but they bend them in perfect harmony. As the ceremony continued, the humans asked questions, not invasive, but thoughtful. What does this gesture symbolize? Mara asked. And this movement? Kiran added. Each time the Telethenians responded, sometimes with words, sometimes with musical tones, sometimes with a simple touch. The humans listened, absorbed, and responded with wonder and insight. The Queen watched closely, her many eyes flicking from human to human. There was admiration, yes, but also a growing sense of surprise. Humans did not just mimic, they understood. And more than that, they added something unique, something alive, that Telethians had never seen. After the ceremony, the humans were invited to the Market of Light, a place where commerce and culture intertwined. Floating stalls displayed fruits that glowed softly, liquids that refracted light like tiny suns, and tools that responded to thought alone. Telethians bartered using subtle color shifts in their skin, patterns in the air, and musical notes. Humans, of course, had no such skills, but they learned quickly. Eli gestured politely, offering a sample of earth fruit in exchange for a shimmering crystal. The merchant blinked, puzzled at first, then laughed, a melodic, bell-like sound, and accepted. Mara was equally adept. She examined alien plants, asked questions about their growth cycles, and suggested minor experiments that could improve yields. Every suggestion was met with cautious interest and often astonishment. Humans, they are clever, whispered a young Telethian apprentice. Not through magic, not through technology, but through thought and curiosity and daring. By midday, the humans had become minor celebrities in the marketplace. Children mimicked their movements, merchants offered gifts, and scholars asked endless questions. The humans had not tried to impress. Simply being themselves, thinking openly, and asking honest questions had created ripples of admiration. But not everyone was pleased. Among the court, a group of traditionalists watched the humans with suspicion. They whispered to each other, concerned that these beings, with their freedom and adaptability, might upset the delicate balance of Telethian society. They move without constraint, one said. They laugh when laughter is not permitted. They touch without permission. And they think too freely. Perhaps, another replied, but perhaps they will also teach us things we could not learn alone. The humans returned to the palace for the afternoon session, a cultural debate where representatives of different Telethian provinces shared ideas about law, art, and science. Eli and Mara were invited to participate, though the council expected little contribution. To their surprise, the humans spoke not to dominate, but to clarify, connect, and imagine. Mara suggested ways to improve cooperation between provinces by using flexible schedules, drawing on examples from Earth. Eli proposed solutions for energy distribution using simple, logical models. Kieran offered insights into language patterns and communication that might reduce misunderstandings. The council listened, fascinated. For the first time, humans were not only guests, they were teachers, demonstrating that intelligence, empathy, and creativity could surpass centuries of rigid tradition. The queen leaned forward, her voice low and filled with wonder. They think as one, yet think apart. They follow the rules, yet bend them. They understand deeply what we have long forgotten. Mara noticed the queen's gaze lingering on the humans' interactions. They are different, she whispered to Eli. Yes, Eli replied. And that difference is exactly what makes humans humans. Later, the queen arranged a private meeting for the humans to observe a Telethian family ritual, something deeply sacred. Humans had already learned to navigate public ceremonies carefully, but this was a step further. The ritual involved bonding, storytelling, and cycles of emotional and biological connection, all governed by precise schedules. Humans were invited to watch, not participate, but they naturally asked questions. Mara inquired about the symbolism, Kieran asked about the timing, and Theo noted the mechanical aspects of ritual devices. The Telethians observed, intrigued. The humans' interest was not intrusive, it was sincere. They laughed at appropriate moments, gasped at beauty, and expressed empathy when the ritual expressed loss or struggle. At one point, the queen leaned closer to her council and whispered again, almost to herself, "Humans, you can mate year-round?" It was not a question asked of them. It was a realization, one that carried awe and confusion. Humans had no limits on their bonds, no rigid cycles. Their biology, social freedom, and emotional range defied everything the Telethians had assumed about life in the galaxy. The humans did not hear the words directly, but they sensed the change in the room, a subtle shift in respect, curiosity, and attention. They were no longer merely guests. They were extraordinary specimens, beings to be studied, admired, and perhaps emulated. As the day turned to evening, the humans were led to the Hall of Reflections, a space where light, water, and sound interacted to create a living mirror of thought and emotion. Here, humans could walk across glass-like floors, touch walls that recorded gestures, and turn them into patterns of light. Eli and his crew experimented freely, creating patterns the Telethenians had never seen. Each movement generated waves of light and sound, responding to emotion and intention. The queen watched, fascinated, as humans combined curiosity, imagination, and empathy to transform the room into something alive in a new way. One of the young Telethian apprentices gasped. They create without limits. They bend rules without breaking them. Beauty unlike any I have known. The queen nodded slowly. Humans? They are unpredictable, yet perfect. They are not just a species. They are an idea, a force, Mara whispered to Kieran. It's incredible. They aren't just adapting, they're shaping perception itself. Yes, Kieran said softly, and they don't even try to impress. It's just who they are. As night fell, the humans gathered on the balcony overlooking the city. The lights shimmered, reflecting the movement of life below. For a moment, silence ruled. the kind of silence filled with wonder, respect, and the faint hum of possibilities. Eli broke the quiet. "We have made our mark today," he said. "Not by force, not by conquest, but by simply being ourselves." Mara smiled. "They will remember us, and maybe they will learn from us too." The queen watched from above, her eyes reflecting the light of the human city explorers. Humans, they challenge every expectation. They question, adapt, and feel freely. Perhaps we have underestimated what life can be. As the humans retired for the night, the city continued to pulse and shimmer with life, aware now that new forces, unseen but undeniable, had arrived. Humanity had entered Zyphora, not just as visitors, but as a presence that could not be ignored. And somewhere in the palace, the queen whispered one last time, "Humans, you can mate year-round." It was not meant as a question anymore. It was a statement of wonder, of respect, and of astonishment. The humans had arrived, and in doing so, they had begun to change the very perception of life on Zyphora. The morning sun spilled across the Telithian palace, casting gentle, shifting colors across the city below. Today was different. The humans would witness something deeply sacred, the ceremony of bonding, an event that every Telithian revered as the most intimate and meaningful expression of life itself. For centuries, outsiders had been forbidden from watching, let alone understanding. Yet the queen had invited them, not merely as spectators, but as witnesses who might teach her people something new. Captain Eli Navarro adjusted his uniform as he and his crew entered the grand chamber. The room was alive in subtle ways. Walls shimmered with light that responded to the movements of the inhabitants. Floors pulsed gently underfoot, and soft hums resonated in the air, as if the building itself were alive. Queen Talithia waited, her many eyes reflecting curiosity and a hint of anticipation. "Humans," she said, her voice a musical blend of tones. "You are about to witness something sacred. You must observe with respect, but also with understanding. Perhaps your presence will reveal truths even we have not seen." Eli nodded. "We will honor your customs, Your Majesty, and we will learn." The humans followed, as the Telithians entered a central chamber, a vast circular space surrounded by pools of glowing water. Bioluminescent plants hung from above, and floating lights traced gentle arcs in the air. At the center, pairs of Telithians stood, their bodies and colors shifting in harmony with one another. Each movement, each gesture was precise and meaningful, synchronized in ways that had taken centuries to perfect. Mara Lynn's eyes widened. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Every movement tells a story." Kiran Shah nodded, translating the sounds into patterns she could recognize. They bond physically, emotionally, and spiritually all at once. Everything is connected. Gestures, colors, tones, even touch. Ellie stepped forward slightly, careful to remain unobtrusive, yet fully attentive. "This is a level of connection humans rarely see in any species. We'll have to study carefully." The humans watched as the Telithians moved through intricate rituals, exchanging colors in their skin, synchronizing movements, and weaving gestures into patterns that radiated across the chamber. Each pair seemed to exist in its own bubble of harmony, yet the room itself flowed as one organism. Queen Telithia leaned closer to her council, her voice barely a whisper. "Observe how they understand one another, without words, without prompts. Imagine if humans had limitations on this. If they followed cycles like us, the humans, of course, had no such limitations. They formed emotional and social bonds freely, year-round, guided by choice and affection rather than biological imperatives. The difference was stark." Mara whispered to Eli. They're fascinated, not just by us watching, but by the fact that we could do this at any time, with anyone we choose. "Yes," Eli replied softly, "that's exactly why they invited us. They want to understand how we are. Free." A young apprentice, Telithian, approached, curious. "How do you maintain balance without cycles?" she asked, eyes wide. "How do you bond and yet remain stable?" Eli smiled. "It's simple. We trust each other, we communicate, and we respect boundaries. Bonds grow, but they don't demand schedules. They are chosen freely, every day. The apprentice's eyes widened further, as if she had glimpsed something impossible. "It is unimaginable," she murmured. The humans continued to observe, taking notes, asking discreet questions, and offering insights when asked. Mara explained the human capacity for emotional flexibility, for recovery, and for maintaining relationships without strict biological timing. The Telethians listened, fascinated. "The humans," whispered an elder advisor, "they bend nature without breaking it. They defy expectations. And yet, they are thriving." Queen Talithia nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on Ellie and his crew. "Humans, you are a revelation. Your choices, your freedoms, your adaptability, it is beyond anything we have seen. Perhaps this is what evolution intended in ways we have forgotten." As the ceremony progressed, a small misstep occurred. A young Talithian accidentally disrupted a light pattern. In any other circumstance, tradition demanded punishment or correction, but the humans reacted naturally. Mara gently offered guidance, Kirin smiled reassuringly, and Eli stepped in calmly to restore balance. The room watched in awe. No one scolded, no one panicked. Humans had intervened without arrogance, corrected without dominance, and restored harmony without fear. The impact was profound. They intervene without destroying," an elder whispered, "and yet they do not follow blindly. They think, they choose, they care." Queen Telethea closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed wonder. "Humans, perhaps you are the first species we have encountered that embodies freedom, choice, and stability simultaneously." After the ceremony, the humans were invited to a discussion hall. Telethean scholars wanted to understand human relationships, emotional bonds, and social freedom. Mara explained carefully, using examples from Earth, friendships, families, communities, and romantic bonds. Kirin detailed communication methods, emphasizing trust and consent. Theo described societal structures that supported flexible relationships. The Teletheans were mesmerized. They had rules for every action, cycle, and bond. Humans had none, yet somehow, humans functioned, thrived, and even excelled. You can love when you choose," one scholar said softly, almost as a question. "And yet, you are never lost. You do not falter." "Yes," Eli replied, "we choose freely. That is our strength. It is not chaos. It is trust, understanding, and adaptability." The queen watched silently for a long moment, then turned to her council. "These humans, they are more than a species. They are evolution realized differently. Perhaps we have underestimated life itself." Even the traditionalists, who had opposed human presence earlier, could not hide their admiration. Slowly, grudging respect replaced suspicion. Humans had shown that one could adapt, influence, and inspire without dominating or destroying. As the day wore on, the humans were led to the Gardens of Reflection, a place where plants, water, and light responded to thought and emotion. Eli and his crew experimented with gestures and intentions, creating patterns of light and sound that were new, unique, and profoundly beautiful. The queen observed from above. Her thoughts whispered, almost aloud. "Humans, you can bond at any time, in any way, and still thrive. You can love without rules. You can live without cycles, and yet you endure." A young apprentice approached her, hesitant, but curious. "Your Majesty, they do not follow our patterns, yet they are respected. They inspire." "How?" Telethea smiled, eyes glowing softly. "Because they are themselves. Because they are humans. Because their strength is in choice, freedom, and adaptability. They bend life without breaking it. And in that lies mastery." Mara looked at the queen and said quietly to Eli, "They are trying to understand us as fully as we understand them. They are learning respect, curiosity, and wonder simultaneously." "Yes," Eli replied, "and it's working." Slowly, they are seeing humans not as outsiders, but as equals, or perhaps as teachers. As evening fell, the city shimmered beneath the stars. Humans stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the world they had begun to change without even trying. The air was filled with music, the subtle, melodic vibrations of alien life, and the humans felt the rhythm deeply, instinctively, like they belonged. The queen's voice floated to them, soft but clear. Humans, you can mate year-round. You are different. You are extraordinary. Ely smiled, looking at Mara and the rest of the crew. We have made an impact today, he said. Not with force, not with conquest, with ourselves. Mara laughed softly. And without even trying, we've taught them new ways to see life. The queen continued to watch, whispering to herself and her council. Perhaps we have underestimated what life can truly be. Perhaps humans are bravity. Somewhere deep in the palace, the youngest apprentices copied human movements, tried their gestures, and began experimenting with freedom of choice within their traditions. The impact of humans' arrival was spreading, not through domination or technology, but through curiosity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. As night deepened, the humans retired for rest, leaving the palace and city alive with new energy. The queen remained in her private chamber, contemplating what she had witnessed. The humans were not mere visitors. They were a force of nature, capable of inspiring respect, wonder, and change wherever they went. For the first time in centuries, the Teletheans considered a radical question. Could freedom and choice, rather than strict cycles and rules, be the path forward for their species? And could humans be the teachers to show them that? In the quiet of the palace, Queen Talithia whispered one last time, almost to herself, "Humans, you can mate year-round, and perhaps we have much to learn." The humans had arrived, had observed, had interacted, and in doing so, had sparked curiosity, awe, and respect, unlike anything Xiphora had ever known. Humanity's extraordinary traits, adaptability, emotional intelligence, and the freedom to choose, had left a mark that no rules, no traditions, and no history could erase. And as the stars shimmered above, Eli knew with certainty that the humans' journey on Xiphora was far from over. They had only begun to teach the aliens what it truly meant to live freely, to bond freely, and to thrive as a species that defied every expectation. The sun rose slowly over Xiphora, painting the alien city in shades of violet and gold. Birds with luminous feathers glided across the sky, their wings leaving trails of sparkling light. On the balcony of the palace, Captain Eli Navarro watched the morning activity below with quiet satisfaction. Humans had been on the planet for several weeks now, and their presence had already begun to change the rhythm of life. Markets moved with more laughter, children played with new ideas, and scholars debated freely instead of strictly following ancient rules. It was subtle, but it was unmistakable. Humanity had left a mark, not through force or dominance, but through curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity. Eli turned to his team. Mara Lynn, Kieran Shaw, and Theo Valen were already preparing for the day's meetings with the Telethean Council. "They've been watching us carefully," Mara said. "Every gesture, every choice, and they're learning fast." "They don't just admire us," Kieran added. "They're trying to understand what it is about humans that works." "And why it works so well." Theo nodded, fiddling with a small device that translated human social structures into visual models for the Teletheans. "It's like teaching evolution," he said quietly. "We don't force it. They just see possibilities." The queen arrived to meet them, her eyes glowing softly with curiosity and warmth. "Humans," she said, "your presence has unsettled some of my people. Yet it has also inspired them. You see patterns we have ignored for centuries. You bend rules without breaking life itself. It is remarkable." Eli bowed. "We do not intend to unsettle. We only seek to share, to learn, and to understand. Change is inevitable when new ideas appear, but it is also natural." The queen considered his words, then smiled. "Perhaps humans are not just a species. Perhaps you are a mirror, showing us what life can truly be when choice and freedom are respected." The humans spent the morning helping the council reorganize certain cultural practices. They suggested ways to allow flexible learning, cooperative problem-solving, and free-form artistic expression, all of which the Teletheans had rarely considered. Mara explained human schools, work structures, and communal activities. Curran detailed interpersonal communication methods, emphasizing empathy, negotiation, and consent. Theo demonstrated practical tools and devices that could assist in daily tasks while respecting individual freedom. The Teletheans were amazed, Concepts they had considered impossible were suddenly within reach. Humans had not come to take, but to offer. And in doing so, they had reshaped ideas about what life could be. By midday, humans were invited to participate in a public celebration of bonding and cooperation, something akin to a festival where multiple Telethean families and communities came together to share art, music, and knowledge. Humans were not just observers, they were part of the event. Eli and Mara joined the children in a game of strategy and creativity. The children laughed freely, learning from humans' unconventional approaches. Herein demonstrated music techniques that combined sound and light in ways Teletheans had never tried. Theo helped engineers and artisans adapt simple tools to improve artistic creations. Everywhere humans went, life around them seemed to flourish. The queen observed closely, her eyes reflecting wonder. They inspire not through power, nor authority, nor even technology. They inspire through curiosity, adaptability, and empathy. And yet, they are humans. Ordinary, yet extraordinary. Later, in a private session with the council, Queen Telethea spoke openly. We have learned from humans that rules are not always the best guides, that life can thrive when freedom, choice, and respect guide behavior, that love and connection can exist without strict cycles or limitations. They have shown us a path forward that we had never imagined. One of the older advisors, a traditionalist who had once opposed human presence, nodded slowly. It is true, humans do not destroy. They challenge and adapt, and in doing so, they improve life itself. The queen turned her gaze toward the humans. Your species, you can bond freely, you can adapt endlessly, and yet you endure. You have taught us more in weeks than we have learned in centuries. Eli smiled, humbled by the praise. We only show what humans are capable of when we respect life and each other. That is our strength, not conquest, not power, just understanding and choice. The humans spent the rest of the day helping the Teletheans implement new forms of social connection. They suggested flexible schedules for families, cooperative learning programs for young apprentices, and creative collaboration opportunities for artists, musicians, and scientists. The Telethenians, once bound by rigid cycles, began experimenting with these new ideas, encouraged by the human success. As night fell, the palace lit up with thousands of bioluminescent lights, reflecting the growing harmony between humans and aliens. The city seemed alive with possibility, a living testament to the power of understanding and freedom. Eli and his crew walked across the palace gardens, observing the Telethenians experimenting with new behaviors. Children imitated human gestures, scholars debated new concepts, and families explored bonds in ways previously unimagined. Humanity's influence had spread subtly, yet undeniably. The queen approached Eli once more, her expression thoughtful. Humans, she said softly, you have shown us a way to evolve our society without violence or force. You have reminded us that life can flourish when choice and freedom are respected. You leave a legacy here that will last far longer than your stay. Eli bowed. We are honored, Your Majesty. Humanity is not perfect, but we strive to live freely, to learn and to understand. If we have helped even a little, it is enough. Mara, watching the alien children play with humans, whispered, they've already begun to change. Not because we demanded it, but because we showed them possibilities. Yes, Eli replied. Humans are different. That is what makes the difference. The next morning, the humans prepared to leave Zyphora. The city had become a place of vibrant energy and new ideas buzzing with possibility. The queen and her council gathered to bid farewell. Humans, the queen said, her voice filled with warmth. You have changed us. You have shown us freedom, choice, and understanding. You have inspired creativity, empathy, and courage. And in doing so, you have left a mark that will endure. You are extraordinary. Ellie stepped forward. We came to learn, to share, and to understand. The honor was ours. Zyphora will always hold a place in our hearts. Mara added, we hope you continue to grow, explore, and create. Freedom and curiosity will guide you well. Kieran smiled. And perhaps one day, our species will meet again, learning from each other even more. Theo held out a small device, a gift for the queen, a tool to help your scholars experiment freely. May it bring new discoveries and inspiration." The queen accepted it with gentle fascination. "Your gifts are not just tools, but ideas. And ideas are eternal." As the humans boarded the horizon's dawn, the city below pulsed with light and movement, alive with the energy of new beginnings. The Telethenians were experimenting, creating, and thinking in ways previously unimaginable. Humans had left without a trace of force, yet their presence had sparked lasting change. From the observation deck, Eli looked down at the city, reflecting on their journey. "We have done more than explore," he said. "We have shared humanity itself, the curiosity, adaptability, and freedom that make us who we are. And that is perhaps the greatest achievement of all." Mara nodded. "And we didn't even have to fight for it. They chose to learn from us." The queen's voice echoed in their memories. "Humans, you can mate year-round. You endure, adapt, and inspire. You are extraordinary." As the ship lifted off, leaving Zyphora behind, the humans looked back one last time. The city shimmered in the starlight, alive and transformed, a living monument to humanity's intelligence, empathy, and freedom. Eli smiled. "This is why we explore," he said quietly. "Not for power, not for conquest, but to share who we are, and maybe help others see what life can truly be." Mara, Kieran, and Theo joined him at the observation deck, watching the glowing world recede into the distance. Humanity's mark was subtle yet eternal, carried in ideas, inspiration, and the knowledge that freedom and choice could reshape even the oldest traditions. The queen had whispered it one last time as they left. "Humans, you can mate year-round. And, perhaps, we have much to learn." And in that whispered phrase, humans' legacy was sealed, not through conquest, technology, or domination, but through curiosity, adaptability, empathy, and the freedom to live fully. Zyphora had been changed forever, and humanity had shown the galaxy the true meaning of being extraordinary. The stars awaited them, and the universe, for the first time in many cycles, had begun to take notice.